Hello and welcome to this very special episode of the Autocar Professional Dialogue. Our guest today is someone who is a very outspoken individual and also seen as a very aggressive CEO. And he's the one who is responsible for setting up Daimler's commercial vehicle business in India and launching the Bharat Benz brand. He's now the head of Daimler Trucks Asia, and he's here in India in his last visit in his current role. Mr. Llistosella, thank you very much for talking to Autocar Professional.
Thanks for coming by.
And let's start with, you are ending a stint at this organization on a very interesting note. You have launched the e-Canter, yes. Which not only for Japan, but it also in the overall global commercial vehicle industry, it's a new kind of, it marks a new trend, beginning of a new trend. Could you tell us more about what is the scope of this going forward?
When we decided to proceed with what was started in 2004 as a project which is called eCell, and in 2014 when we had the first test drives of real customers in Portugal, we really had a long discussion how we shall proceed. Either we really stay and stick to that, or do we believe in it, or we just do it for fanciness. So in 2015 it was clear for us, it was a strategic decision from the whole management team and myself that we wanted to do something else. We wanted very clearly to reposition FUSO as a brand. FUSO was known for a long time for the Canter. It was the icon of the light-duty truck itself, and millions of these trucks are now populating the world. And we said that is a long time ago. So what is FUSO now standing for? And we were very clear that when we do something with the brand, when we reposition the brand, when we give it a new core, when we give it a new direction, it has to be something which is a change of the whole industry. I wouldn't say that this is by coincidence, but what you have seen the last year was a dramatic increase of interest in the media, in the public interest, in terms of electrification of mobility. We have seen massive attacks or attempts also in the past. We have seen it in the 90s, we have seen it the last 20 years several times, but I think we are now at the right spot at the right time, that the electrification of not only cars but also of trucks and commercial vehicles and buses is now at a tipping point.
So will electric mobility be a big play in the commercial vehicle space?
It is already.
Because many people are still apprehensive about it.
You know, this is the typical reaction. I just remind you when the CEO of IBM was asked, how many computers do you see worldwide? And that was in the 40s. He answered, not more than 10, because nobody can afford it. And we know how the story ends. Another one was asked in 2008, what is he thinking about the iPhone? And he was a highly respected CEO of a company you know what happened to this, of a Finnish company. And in these days he said in an interview, he does not see the iPhone as a mass market. He perceives it as a niche, as a pure niche which will never exceed 10% of the market. Also here we know exactly what happened. So I think this is a typical thing when you are at the beginning of a new technology coming out of the childhood to coming now to more and more being more mature. And we see that especially China is massively investing. You know that they have claimed last month that they will invest billions of US dollars into a charging system which will be more charging stations that the whole world has currently together and in future. So they want to invest for 4.5 million charging stations in China in the next 3 years. So what we see is a massive shift of interest, a massive shift of also in invest, a massive also shift of intelligent people working on it. Because to be very clear, who's working on batteries for the last 10 years? This was also a fraction of the amount of people who were working on the next level of emission norms in combustion engines. But this is now shifting. And we have very, very, I would say, famous new players in the market, which you know, in America we have one, and we have also some others in China. One is Build Your Dreams. And they are already selling thousands of light vehicles electrified. And none of them so far has tried it with a light duty truck in the range of 7.5 tons. And this is why we said, hey, we're the truck guys, we can do it, we should do it, now we do it.
Was it a plan to beat Tesla to it?
Always. No, to be very serious. What has Tesla done the last years was a wake-up call for the oil industry. A lot of people never took Tesla very serious. For a long time, they were underestimated. And that is something which is a typical problem when you step as a new kid in the block. You know, the same will happen to us when we were with Bharat Benz in India. A lot of people underestimated us dramatically, and you know the result. Now we are at nearly 10% market share, we're number 3 in heavy duty after 5 years, and you know the story is not over. So the same is with Tesla. At the beginning they were underestimated, now everybody is taking them very serious. And you see in passenger cars, a lot of people are speeding up massively all their efforts and also their funding and also their R&D development to come up with new products in electric cars.
And also, would the e-Canter, for example, be the platform for the start of Daimler's electric mobility journey in India, in the commercial vehicle space? Would that be the platform?
It would be the platform from whereof we will derive derivatives which would be suiting for India. The thing is, India is another, I would say, new kid on the block. India is underestimated. I know it because I worked here for such a long time. I worked here 5 years here and more than 8 years in the country. And India is underestimated by a lot of others.
In electric mobility?
Not only there, in mobility. India is currently number 6 in the car production. Who knows that? We speak about South Korea, we speak about China, we speak about Europe, we speak about America. India is still underestimated. India is seen as a follow-up. India is seen now with Bharat Stage 4, introduced in 2017. This is 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 years later than the others, or even 10 years. The thing is, everybody has in mind that India will proceed now in 2020 with Bharat Stage 6. So we pass 5. Right. We do. So then everybody predicts that electrification of the industry here will take at least decades. Why is it so? Because we think in existing paradigms. We think that the grid, the electric supply, is unstable. We thought so.
The source of electricity.
The source of electricity is not sufficient. But this could change easily because we see that a lot of solar panel is now ramped up in India. We see that the renewable energies, even India is ranked very low when it comes to environmental friendliness. India has a potential. And with now the new government, which is now making decisions, you know, we waited for years for the GST, endless discussions, but then, bam, it came. And the same with the emission norm, bam, it came, and the others were banned. Who expected this? Nobody. This is the surprise which a new kid on the block has. And eventually we can surprise also the world with the readiness, not everywhere, not around the country, but why not in some spots? Why not in Ahmedabad? Why not, for example, in Mumbai? In some spots, for inner urban distribution, we have a sufficient supply of electricity, and then we step into this with our products. Why not? Why should we limit ourselves always to the stigma and paradigms of the past?
Of the past, yes. So, in your estimates, when can we expect Daimler or BharatBenz to enter the electric mobility space here?
The one thing is, a lot of others are now coming up with prototypes. Right. It's cool, it's good, we started the same. The only thing is now we are really pre-series we have done, now we have small series production, and we have now our growth path that's very clear. We will have, now currently we can call it e-Canter number 1, and then in 2 years we call it e-Canter number 2. So it's like an upgrade, you know, from your device. We have a 1.0, 1.2, 1.3, and now we are coming. We have this plan for the next 5 years. So that means we leverage the development in the battery technology every second year. So that means we will groom with the technology and we will not stuck with all technology. So we will go with the time. And that gives us a significant advantage because we know how to use this. We know how to test it. We have tested these trucks, you know it. We are very heavily testing everything before we come to the market. And now we can provide with the customers with the first real new technology. And by that we learn. That means every time we learn more, we will come with the always latest technology to India. So when you ask me, we're ready. If the market is really ready, if the market gives us a go, for example, in Bangalore. Why not in Bangalore? Bangalore's infrastructure is not that bad. And we could start in Bangalore. And we could start with the e-Canter, and we call it then not e-Canter in the sense of FUSO, because here our market is BharatBenz and nothing else.
Right. So it will be a BharatBenz.
Of course.
And a year or two is a good timeline before we can expect?
As I say, we are ready. We just need the call.
Right, right. And also, in terms of India, it looks like India holds a special place in your heart.
It does.
And would the whole chapter of setting up Daimler's commercial vehicle business in India, that would, I think, would remain as a special part of your entire career, isn't it?
This is absolutely the venture of my life.
Yeah.
And my family was here a long time with me. My youngest two kids grew up here. You know, it's very clear, and we said it 2 tiers. Once you come to India, and once you leave India. And I can tell you, we had much more tears in our eyes and in our heart when we left this country. And I feel here home. You know, the friendliness of the people, the willingness to take risks. Also, I know the greediness, the chaos, all these bad things. But forget the bad things. The bad things everybody sees. The spirituality, the willingness to groom, the willingness of the driver, my chauffeur. In these days, he spent half of his income for the education of his son. This is something, this is the spark of change. This country is ready, and this country needs this change, and I love to see things grow. And you can see growth here. You can change here. And we have done a remarkable job. You know, BharatBenz, we did it. We did it. Yeah, we did not just blubber. We delivered what we said. And I think we brought a lot of change to the industry, not only to the profitability of our competitors, we crushed it, but we brought also technology, we brought competition, we brought new models, we brought a lot of new systems. We were ready with Bharat Stage 4, we are already introduced Bharat Stage 5 in Delhi. So I think this kind of change is something which it's hardly to imagine really to do it somewhere else.
If such is your fondness for India, are you likely to take up a new role in India, or would you like to settle down in India later?
That would be not nice because to say anything about it, because currently I'm honored to be the head of Daimler Trucks Asia, which is my home and my company, and we will see what the future brings.
24 years, quite a long time. Must be quite an emotional, tough call, wasn't it?
It is a tough call, but I can't be the prophet of change, and I didn't do it. I will not do it by myself. So what I ask other people to do, to change, I have to do with myself. So for me, I'm very eager. We have a lot of ideas. This company allowed me to realize these ideas, so I feel very grateful for the opportunities. Imagine you have the opportunity to build up a full-fledged business. We have a localization which is exceeding 90%. We have built up 134 dealerships in India. Nobody believed in us. We have no partner. We had no partner. Everybody said without a partner you can't do it in India. This is all nonsense. If you really have a vision, if you have a super team, and the team here is amazing. I love these guys. I love these guys. They're really spotless. And with this, we could do something. And imagine, a company allows you to do this. I will be always grateful to Daimler that they allowed me to do this. I'm very grateful that they allowed me to do a brownfield approach to turn around FUSO. FUSO is now a real strong company. We have a perfect financial situation. We have a growth last year which is exceeding every expectation. We really are on a good spot. And I must say, it was great. But now, what's next? What's next?
So why are you leaving?
Yeah, that's a good question because I am always looking for the next unbelievable, unmakeable challenge, and eventually this could be outside. And you know, if you're with Daimler for 23 years, in fact it's 23 years and some months, Daimler will stay always in my heart. And a very special place is BharatBenz.
And exactly, and also some industry professions also say, believe that yes, Daimler made very clear, Daimler's intent was very clear, but somehow things haven't gone as planned. I mean, the adoption of the kind of modern trucks, or even your dealerships made, the partners made huge investments. Not many of them are profitable.
No, now they are more than 60% are profitable today. So that, because we met them yesterday, we had a dealer meeting, and you're right, but this is always when you invest. This is what you do with a startup. This is not like an ongoing business where you just improve a little bit. This is something you have to have a vision, and you have to be very, very persistent. If you are changing all the time your strategy, you should be adaptive, but you should not change too often. You should also not always listen to the surrounding. Sometimes you just have to bow your head and go like a bull, and then you have to focus. And what we did, we focused. Listen, nobody believed that we can do it without a partner. Nobody believed that we can make a dramatic change to the big guys playing here for decades. We did. Nobody believed that we have a localization which is exceeding 9%. We did. Nobody believed that we ever are allowed to put on our produced trucks the FUSO badge, the Freightliner badge, or the Mercedes badge. We did. So what everybody is saying what is not possible is for me always a very good motivation to show it is possible.
And where BharatBenz stands today in terms of market performance, is it little, would you agree that it's slightly behind what your original expectations were?
1.5 years behind. In terms of market share, we're double digits since months. And in terms of profitability, we will be break even. We will have break even, and that's our target. And I always said it in 2018. And if this comes true, after 5.5 years in operation, listen, what you can achieve more? What can you achieve more? Market position, localization, quality, by the way, the quality is outspokenly well perceived, really well perceived. And you know, the belief of our suppliers made us always stronger. The belief of our dealers, the belief of our people. Because who would have agreed that the quality is so good, ex-India, that we can put a badge on it from the most famous truck manufacturer in the world, Mercedes-Benz. We could take it, and we are allowed to take this. This is an honor which you can't exceed this.
So that also is a reflection of how not only BharatBenz, but India as a manufacturing base is improving.
Exactly. And there are companies like Motherson, there are companies like Bharat Forge, there are companies like we have here, you know, Sundaram Fasteners. We have here a lot of suppliers. You know that most of our suppliers are really located where we are. And I can tell you the flexibility of the suppliers, the willingness to learn, the willingness to invest, the willingness to take risks. This is something which was exceptional because we would not be successful without our stakeholders, our partners. We needed the suppliers. You have to have a very close relationship with suppliers. It is a partnership. It's not a partnership for some days, hit and run. This is a partnership for 50 years because they make big investments. They believed in us. It's a partnership with the dealers. They believed in us. It's a partnership with the customers. At the beginning, residual value. What will happen? You know how many people came here. Yeah? Navy Star, MAN, Asia Motor Works, Photon, all they came here. And I think some of them left already. So a lot of people believed in us. So it was also, it was our duty to stick with what we promised.
Was there any time, any phase during your stint here in India wherein you thought, oh, it's a little tougher nut to crack than what I thought?
2009 was tough. The credit crunch. That was tough. We survived it. 2014 was tough. because, you know, the GST was postponed. The emission norms was postponed. The truck code is still not really in action. Overloading now is more and more into regulation, but everything was postponed. So everything what was in our favor to modernize the trucking industry in India was getting postponed. So that was, of course, led to a certain form of frustration. The more we are now really enthusiastic. You see it when you speak with the people. Now everything falls into place, everything what we planned. Yes, with a delay, but it comes.
And you're claiming that in the heavy duty trucks you're number 3?
Absolutely. I don't claim it, I know it.
Are you is number 1 position in your in Daimler's?
We have not invested this amount of money. We have not sent all the best people here to be number 3 forever.
All right.
Why should we?
So you are eyeing that number 1 spot as well, but that is quite a tough call, huh? Considering that the number 1 player is such a leader by a huge margin.
No.
No, nearly 50%.
Ah, yes, you mean the share of market.
Right.
I was thinking about profit margins, and in profit margins we know all that our competitors massively suffered the last 5 to 7 years. Whether this is a pure volume game is one. We wanted to be the brand of aspiration. We wanted, and we are, in our perception, the best truck you can get for money in India. This is what we wanted. And the more customers say that, the more we see it confirmed by the customer
It's
perception,
more of a word of mouth game also.
then we are exactly where we wanted to be.
Okay. And what is your outlook now that for the Indian, not only the commercial vehicle market, but for the economy as well? The way things are moving, demonetization, GST, there are mixed reactions on some quarters. What is your outlook?
First of all, I think the new government makes calls. Whether I like the government or not is irrelevant. They are active. They are doing decisions. What India needs is decisions. Some of them will be tough, some of them will be harsh, some of them will be not balanced. But it is always better to make a decision than to not do any decision. So I think the stagnation which we had observed a little bit in the time before, India is now on a rush. India is now, the growth rate I think was published this morning in the range of 7.5. It is the fastest growing economy in the world. Currently, of course, there are other little countries eventually exceeding India, but I speak about real big players. India is one of the most moving country in the last 2 or 3 years, which gives me a confidence that Indians start to believe in themselves. That's for me this most important thing. You have everything in this country. You have a median of age which is 28. So that means you have a young population. You have 100s of the best universities, of the best colleges in mathematics in the world. You have a very hard, very competitive education system. So you have always millions of competitors in your peer, in your class. So I think the hunger of these young people is enormous. And I think there is no limit. But you start, and that's important, with the Modi government, you start to believe in yourself. That was missing. And with that, the sky is the limit.
If that is so, could India be, say, one of the top 3, or if not the top base as a market or as a production for Daimler Trucks?
That you have to ask my shareholder.
But tell me, before we end this very special interview with you, I would like to know your thoughts about what are the key mantras that you live by and as a leader and also as an industry professional.
An interesting question. First, listen to others, but do what you think is best. Don't do what other people say. Think about it. Number 2, be modest. Whatever you do, how hard you work, it's destiny, it's luck which helps you. If someone thinks that he has the destiny under control, sorry to say, everything, I believe in chaos. I believe in the chaos theory. I believe in coincidences. Of course, the coincidence on your side if you work harder than others, but you cannot predict everything. That's number 2. To be modest, in my case, sometimes I struggle with that. I'm not known to be the most modest person. That is one. You have to be modest, and you have to be a little bit grateful for the things which happen to you. And what is the most important learning is you are nothing without a team. You can claim that you're super smart, you're the best talent, whatever it is called. This ego shooting, what some people think is making them so you sexy, so successful, you are nothing about a team. The team which brings you up. The team is what reflects your leadership. Leadership is something where you trust blindly to each other. You don't need to be reminded that you have one more stripe on the shoulder. It is the importance that you have an acceptance by trust, by sympathy, and by constant teamwork. And that is something which I experienced here in India massively. There is a really great teamwork, and there was really a team spirit, and there is a team spirit from Bharat Benz. And that is exactly what we have built up in FUSO. Teamwork is attractive to the whole world. But it has to be honest, and it has to be fair, and it has to be based on sympathy and empathy which you have for human beings. If you don't like humans, you should never go in a leading position.
Very well said, Mr. Llistosella. On that note, thank you very much for sparing on time. It was indeed a very special interview with you this time, and wish you all the very best for your next role. I can understand you can't reveal it yet, but we'll meet again very soon.
Yes, we will.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And thank you very much for watching this very special episode of the Autocar Professional Dialogue. Do keep tracking Autocar Professional on our website, www.autocarpro.in, as well as this subscribe to this YouTube channel, and we are there on social media as well. And keep yourself abreast about all the developments in the Indian and the global automotive industry. Thank you. Till we meet again, goodbye.